So I bought this new quick coupling attachment for my Chinese Mini Excavator. These don't come with instructions, and I'm going to figure this out and show you how we put this on my machine. So you might be wondering what this is actually used for. And these pins actually replace the pins that hold the bucket on your Chinese Mini Excavator. This connects where the bucket would go, and then this allows you to connect to your attachments quickly. And then you have like a nut that you just turn instead of knocking pins out. And after these pins get rusty, they tend to be a little bit harder to knock out. You need punches and hammers and all kinds of stuff. And in this case, you have one nut that you need to tighten up to secure your bucket. So according to the package, this weighs 7.88 kilograms, and we're going to weigh this on a regular scale, and I'll give you an idea how much it weighs in America. And here we go. So according to my scale, we got 16 pounds, 3.8 ounces. And we're going to do some quick math on the metric conversion calculator to see exactly. Calculated out, that's 7.365 kilograms. So I'm assuming that they weighed the box to get 7.88, which is kind of irrelevant, but it's what we do here. So at the machine here, I have a hydraulic tilt bucket that I just put on last week. And I have these hydraulic connections, which we're going to have to unplug here. Easy as that. So all Chinese mini excavators are not made the same, but most of them are kind of somewhat made the same. So like on mine, you have these nifty little bolt head holders welded into the end of this yoke here. That's what came with the tilt bucket. And on the other side, you have these nuts that are on the pins. And I do see that a lot of these are different measurements. Now I was trying to get you a metric equivalent here, and I have a 36 and I have a 32. A 36, I'm going to say this is probably a 35 because the 36 goes on loose. The 32 does not go on at all. Going by American measurements, 1 3/8 seems to be a pretty nice fit on it. It's about as close as you're gonna get. So I'm gonna run these nuts off. Giggity. Alright, GoPro, stop recording. So you're gonna need a hammer to knock these pins out usually, because you have the weight of the bucket and it might be sitting crooked or whatever. I usually put these nuts back on, and I just put them on like a couple turns. So when you pound on it, you're pounding on this rounded part coming out of the end of the nut, the locking part, and you won't mess up your threads. You mess up one of those threads and you're messing around with fouls and everything else trying to get things. And being that this was just put on, they move pretty easily, thank God. These are kind of designed to pound on, where you can see the thread doesn't start in until after that little stub sticking out. But just get it like that. And I have this brass punch to make life a little bit easier. This bucket should just kind of ease out of the way then. And don't do what I just did. That's kind of idiotic. You're just going to make life tough for yourself if you throw things on the ground like that. So get yourself a piece of cardboard, and then you're not going to have to wipe these off before you put them back in. So I'm going to hold on to this bucket with one hand and kind of... Okay, it's on a little bit of a bind here. Might have to pick up on it, or might have to pick up on the boom. So I'm going to carefully get these hoses kind of out where they're not going to get pinched. And this bucket's not super heavy, but I'm going to try to just take the weight off. And there it is. So when you pull these out and they're covered with grease, just leave that grease on them. So I'm going to wipe the faces off of these wear surfaces here and make sure that no dirt got down inside the holes, and do that on all 4 of them. We don't want to introduce any more abrasion in there than we have to. And dirt is abrasion. So these pins that hold this to the boom, they have grease fittings on the end, and they are recessed so they shouldn't catch on stuff so easy. And they're held on the other end by these bolts. And I was going to originally put some quick connect pins in here, but in theory, this shouldn't, I don't think I'm ever going to really be putting this or taking this thing back off. This thing should be on unless I have to do some work to the machine. It's like a more permanent installation, so anything that I buy for it will readily connect to this part. So we're going to have to remove these pins, which they are double nutted, so they're, you know, like once you put them on, you tighten that jam nut down, it should not come out very easily. Alright. Now, hopefully these holes are going to line up and these pins are going to fit. So there's this little 4mm Allen head set screw sitting here on this bolt. And I think, I'm not sure what it's even going to be for, but I'm just going to remove it for now because I think they put that in with the intent of locking this bolt so it doesn't vibrate loose. But I think you're going to notice that in the bucket itself, when it starts to come loose, just, you know, stick a socket on there and tighten her back up. But I'm just going to remove it for the time being. I may put that back in later. But I've seen where when you tighten this bolt up or loosen it, see how you have this half of a yoke that kind of runs in and out. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of grease on these threads in here, just because I think they're going to need it. And this may be even a good spot to stick a grease fitting instead of this screw, but that's to be determined yet. Just a little bit of this Lubriplate spray grease. I think I got this on Amazon. I'll put some links in the description. Now I'm assuming that this bolt head faces out away from the machine. I'm not 100% sure, and these bolts, it's at the discretion of the installer which direction, if they go this way or this way. No, actually I'm kidding, because they have to go this way because your bolt holes are on that side. But the fitment is pretty good on this. Yeah, she went right through. Let me grab the other pin. Hopefully we're going to get to test this before it rains. Get you in here a little bit closer and finagle that. Get those blades of grass off the pin. And viola. So we're going to go around to the other side and put those pins with, which are just bolts with nuts on them. I'm just going to snug that. I'm not going to put a lot of tension on. And then just jam the second one in. So I'm going to reinstall the pins on my bucket and put the nuts on. I'm just going to run these in snug, and that should be good right there for when we need to hook into that. We just leave these hooked in. So I'm going to do the same thing on my 14-inch bucket here, and this pin's a little bit stiff. I'm going to just run it in with the socket, I believe. For some reason they're on a bind. Let me get my hammer. Yeah, this is pretty nuts that it's that seized up already. I'm gonna try to just run it in with the impact and get that slot lined up on the other side. Shit. It's crazy. That's what we want, is to get it down in that slot. And of course the second one's not gonna do me any favors either. And there we go. We're ready to give this thing a try. I think we got gravity in our favor doing it this way. I think. Just go like that. So I'm just gonna run this tight for now and see what it does. I'll tell you what, the bucket's pretty damn tight. I think we're golden. Okay, so here we are the following day in some brighter light. I come up with a conclusion on this thing. I struggled to get the machine to pick this thing up, so I come up with a different philosophy on this. The bucket doesn't weigh that much at all, so check this out. I'm gonna loosen this up to where it just hangs on here. We can take the bucket off. All right. Now, here's the thing. With the boom in this position, you can pick it up and it just sort of hangs on here. You reposition yourself, get your impact ready, or your ratchet, whatever you're going to use, and pull back to where it's going to line up, and just take your impact. So see what happens here when I loosen and tighten. See how that cup moves, and when I get the bucket in position, just run it in until it snugs. And there, you don't want to give it too much tightening on there, because that bolt is only going to last so long if you do that. So there's that too. I'm going to get the thread size on it and the length, and I'm gonna purchase a couple more of these bolts just to have around, because I do believe that they're gonna strip out. None of this stuff is made, you know, that great. I'm gonna guess that that's a 13 or 14 millimeter bolt, but I will make sure that I have the right thread so that can be replaced in the future if it would happen to strip out. So be sure to check the Amazon links below. Clicking the links helps me with small commissions I earn from any sale. And if you know an easier way, or if you have any tips on how to operate the machine to pick this thing up off the ground, let me know. But I think that as light as this bucket is, it might go 35, 40 pounds. I would say that the hydraulic tilt bucket I took off of here probably weighs closer to 80 or 90 pounds, maybe 100. I'm sure it would be no problem at all to hook onto here. If you even tilt the bucket this way a little bit more, you can, like when you pick up and just drop that into the groove, it'll hang there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to demonstrate that. Stand by. Okay, so I loosened it up to where it's just hanging here, and we're going to take the bucket off, lay it on the ground, and let me start the machine up and get that tilted back. Okay, you watching? If I just get here where I can get a good hold on it, pick it up, and set it in there, it falls right against its stop. Now, let that sink in for a second. Okay, so then we come around here, and hopefully you can see this little bolt head, and make sure we're going the right way. And see how it picked up a little bit? That means we are tight. We are very tight. And now that we're done playing, I'm gonna go ahead and lubricate my lube points. So that should be enough. So the question is, how long will this thing last? Nobody's gonna really know, but it seems like the welds are pretty decent on it, and as far as the overall build quality, the pins seem pretty legit, and I don't know really what else to say about it. I mean, it's a block of steel that holds the bucket on. I think it should hold up just fine. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.